Hi guys, it's Gabe and I'm gay and I'm driving my car. I told you guys that this was a very impulsive podcast, and today I really thought I was not going to have an episode come out. And so I was like, okay, I just won't have an episode this week. That's okay. And here we are now recording an episode impulsively as I drive. You can hear engines, blinkers. You might even hear a honk. I'm just kidding. I don't honk. But today I'm going to just talk to you guys until I get home, because that's the beauty of making a podcast like this, is I can just do whenever I want and kind of just vibe and hang out and have fun and talk to you guys. So yeah, I guess where to begin today is that I started a website, gabekanai.com. I bought it. My domain is here. Yes, ma'am. That's mine. And I'm so excited that I have that, because I get to put it on resumes. It's like a little portfolio website, collection of all of the work I've done, a collection of all the things I'm proud of, what it means to work with me, things like that. So I'm really excited to announce that and talk about that and finally be able to tell you guys that that's a thing. And when I got to work on my website, which I kind of did pretty fast. I worked on it pretty well, and I just worked at my own pacing, and it all happened in a pretty good pace, and everything just came really easily to me. I really just feel really proud of what I made, honestly. And I usually don't say that for a lot of the things I make, but that is really something cool to me. So I'm really happy that I have that to share with you guys. So yeah, today I am just living my life. My birthday was the other day. I am now 19 years old, which is crazy. This is my final teenage birthday, and then I'm 20. Okay, I'm 20, y'all, and then I'm gonna be 21, and y'all know what that means. But yeah, I am literally getting older, and I am honestly okay with it right now. I know older means probably smacking himself in the face saying, why are you saying that? But I am honestly kind of happy that I am getting older and I'm able to express myself more and feel more mature. And I feel like people listen to what I say more. And I feel like my voice actually matters every year I get older. Because I feel when I was younger, though a lot of my opinions were pretty right, I feel like it was very easy for people who were older than me to easily knock me down or say what I'm saying is wrong or that I don't know how the world works, things like that. Even though, especially because our generation is so new to the exposure of the internet right off the bat, I feel like I was pretty well grounded in what society was like and what the world looked like today. And so, when I would mention arguments or have a conversation, I feel like now it's a bit more understood that I can be right and that it's okay to hear my opinion and accept it, because I'm a bit older now. I'm not just the little young kid anymore. And so that feels nice. But also that comes with that is the fear of not getting out in time of where I live and not being able to, get my jobs and careers going the way I want it to. There's a lot of fear of, messing up taxes or stuff like that. Not knowing what I'm doing every day. That's always scary. These things are mature things to, I guess, worry about as well. So I guess I shouldn't technically stress about them, but just their existence now is quite alarming. But of course, that's going to happen to everybody, and everybody's going to have that in some form, in some type of way. And so that's okay. I've just started to learn that it's okay to feel how I feel, and, it's okay to be nervous about those things. It's okay to be anxious, and it's okay to not know what's going to happen. I was just thinking earlier about a year ago today, I was in such a different place than I am now. I mean, looking at me now, I'm working on so many projects. I've had some great jobs. I've worked on a podcast. I'm talking to you now. Those were all things that didn't exist a year ago today. And so with all of those things now existing, it's just a big show of how much can change so fast in a year. And who knows where I'm going to be next year or the year after or the year after that. You just never know. And you kind of just got to let the world take its stride and let it do what it wants to do with you. And realize you'll be okay, and hope you will be okay, and I'm sure you will be, and things will be okay. I hope. But besides that, I think that's a really interesting topic to talk about because, there's just so much that changes so fast, and you never know what's going to happen. And it's literally everywhere. Like, not even just like a personal thing, but like even when it comes to like movies and TV shows, things like that, it all changes so quickly there too. Like, one day I was thinking, like, I'm never going to get to see another Jurassic Park movie. And then a few years later, there is a new Jurassic Park movie. Or I read a book and I was upset because I would never be able to see this on the screen. And now I am seeing it on the screen. Things like that, they all just happen so sporadically and they take you by surprise. And it's absolutely crazy how the world works. And I kind of love it pretty much, not going to lie. Yeah, this is going to be a shorter episode because I am only driving home. And it was very sporadic and unplanned. And the microphone quality is definitely probably not the best. So I am sorry for that. But also, I wanted to talk about road rage. You've done it. Your mother's done it. Your grandma's done it. Your grandpa's done it. Your dad has done it. I'm not going to lie. I don't road rage. The only time I honk my horn is either when I'm joking around with my friends because they're driving in front of me, or it's a very, very deadly situation where if they don't get their attention right and on focus, there is going to be a death, okay? Like, that is like the only time I will genuinely honk. If somebody cuts me off, I'm not going to honk at them. If somebody hits their brake too hard or, brake checks me, I'm not going to honk at them. I don't really care that much. I think that the more you stay mad at other people for like the little mistakes, it's a bit disappointing. I think everybody makes mistakes, and you never know what's going on in somebody's life. They might be rushing to their mom's deathbed before she dies, or maybe they just made a mistake, but maybe they have a severe mental disorder, and like you being rude to them could be life or death to them. Maybe one day you could be honking at somebody who just hung up from the suicide hotline or something, and now you just made their situation worse. And your life is okay, your day is going okay. Besides them cutting you off, you can just let it go and move on, and just move on with your day like normal. You just have to remember that you're okay, they're okay, nobody was hurt, there was no expensive like money taken, there was no need to, there's really nothing to really worry about anymore except just move on. But when you're mad at them and you keep that rage and you honk or you drive by and look at them and make them feel ashamed and like rub it into their face, I think all it does is make them feel worse, and then also keep it more built up inside of you. And I think that that's a really toxic way of driving. And I think it's very important to remember to be vulnerable, and that people do make mistakes, and that if they do cut you off or do something wrong on the road, speed too fast, there isn't really a reason to stress about it, because it's not really your business after it's done over and done with. Their life is going to keep going forward, your life is going to keep going forward, and that's that. And so when I drive, I just try to enjoy the road and me, and I stay in tune with my music and make sure I'm driving the way I'm supposed to. I don't really worry about other people when I drive, except for when they're in front of me or near me. I don't worry about how they're gonna be after they accidentally cut me off or anything like that. I just stay in tune with my environment and what's going on around me. And if something happens and nobody's hurt and nothing extremely intense or scary has happened, then I'm able to just put it aside and keep going. I've passed them or they've passed me, and that's all I'm gonna see of them probably ever again in my life. So I mean, why make them feel bad? That's all. I think like some people would argue like, oh, well, they risked my life, and so they deserve to feel bad. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know what's going on in their life. Genuinely, you don't know. They could be in one of the saddest eras of their life. They could be so depressed. They could just be coming home from therapy or, something like that. And they have so much on their mind that they mess up. And I think the important part is just to remember that nothing happened. Like, the situation happened, but nobody was hurt. And nothing was hurt. Nothing. So why keep, your heart your heart open and keep it vulnerable and give your heart to people. Be nice to people. I think spreading kindness and being nice to other people is a big thing, because it can not only impact other people's days, but also there's not enough kindness in the world that your kindness will stand out. And when you go the extra mile to be kind to somebody, they likely will never forget it, because there's very little people who are so delicate and polite and sweet and considerate, and so as somebody who always tries to be nice to somebody, of course there are moments when you kind of have to put your foot down and say, this isn't right, you shouldn't be doing this. And I hate those confrontational moments. I've always described myself as a person who doesn't necessarily drop my phone, as somebody who doesn't necessarily enjoy conflict. But I think that as somebody who knows where you should have conflict and when you should apologize, I think that that's a good time to know and learn. And it takes learning experience, and it takes time to learn when to be confrontational, when to be a bit more lean back. It takes a lot to know where you should be standing. And I think that's really important. I think it's really easy to be mad at somebody or dislike something, or even like with media, criticizing. It's really easy to judge a bad movie you just watched, but it's also really easy for you to forget how much work was put into it from all of the people involved, all of their families that had to deal with, the 300 cast and crew members their family who's had to deal with them being really stressed out and being really anxious every night and not being able to spend the greatest and most intense amount of time with their family, and these are all things that you don't really consider when you shit on a movie or when you talk bad about somebody or something. You don't really think about the circumstances to it, or the hows, the whens, the whats, the wheres, just like all of the very special, unique details that you couldn't know because you don't live their life. And so I think just being kind, you don't have to know their life. You don't have to know what situation they're in. Being kind is something any and everybody should be able to accomplish, and give out, because even if you're kind to the meanest people out there, all that can do is just make them feel something. And if you're being nice to the nicest person out there, you're also just making them feel good. And you can say that for anybody. If you're just being nice to a normal person, you're making them feel just as good as ever, and it'll make their day and it'll make them happy. And I think that's a really great thing, is to just be able to make other people happy and just be able to explore life and understand that other people are important too, and not just you, and not to be just so self-centered and so grounded in your own personality and your own being, but also spreading that love and sweetness and heart that you have to other people around you. I think that that's a really special skill that only some people can acquire, and I think it's very admirable when you do get it, for sure. And I think one of the ways to get it is a lot of people who do have that skill have gone through a lot of bad things in their life, and they've suffered through a lot of toxic issues and a lot of toxic people, and they've been in certain circumstances they would never want somebody else to be in because it changed their life, and sometimes those type of people are the ones that just know how to interact with people in a sweet way. And of course, nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to do it every time. But there are some people who just know how to interact better and know how to keep people's hearts and minds and bodies aligned and keep them all normal. And I think that's a big issue with the internet, is there's just so much criticism everywhere. It's just so simple, and it's so easy to forget that there are people behind every single thing that you say and do, or every single thing you watch, and there's a person behind it. And sometimes the person that's even the center of attention isn't even giving the personality that they actually have. A lot of the time their personalities are either, they could be worse, they could be better, they could be nicer, they could be stronger. These are all things that people have to keep in mind, and you have to keep that in mind when you step out there and you think about all of the people you interact with and all of the people. It's really crazy because you can go driving, or you can go to a movie theater or a stage show or any kind of concert, and you'll just see all of these people, and you just kind of think for a second, every single person here has a life, and every single person here has a family, and every single person here is here tonight to have fun, or to be here to watch this, or to experience this. And you're there too. And you can be a part of their lives too by just saying hello, or hi, or I like your glasses, or your hair is really pretty. You know, especially people who work jobs too. They are forced to be in certain circumstances and in that building at that time to help you. So why not compliment them and give them some kindness to give them a little boost to their day, you know? It's not like a foreign concept, I don't think. I think it's a really important and strong and powerful thing to do, really. It's just to like know that the people around you are people, and that they exist and have lives and hearts and souls, and they're willing to put their foot down. You should be able to give your love to them as well. And I think that's one of the greatest things about life, is just how unique the human experience is, and how everybody experiences something different, and how everybody's life is different, everybody's brain is different, everybody's looks are different. Nobody is particularly the same, which is the greatest thing. Like, even if you're a twin, your personalities are very likely different, you know? There's very little people like you out there in the world, and I think that's an important reason to realize why it's important for you to also be around, and why it's important for you to love and care and respect yourself, because you're the only one of you. And when you're the only one of you, nobody can get in your way, I guess, and tell you that what you're doing is wrong, because there's going to be somebody out there who does like you for what you do and who you are. And if you don't think that, think of all of the billions of people in the world, and you're trying to tell me that one person out of all those billions of people won't like you the way you are. I think that's very tricky to convince somebody of. I think that's very impossible to convince somebody of. And I think it's very, very interesting to just think of all of the people out there and all the people you've yet to meet, and how like somebody that you're gonna meet in a bar in maybe like 5 years, they're living their life right now, probably watching TikTok or YouTube or a movie or a TV show for all you know, and they're just enjoying their life, and they're having a blast. And, you know, eventually, one day in a few years, they're going to end up in a bar with you, and they're going to meet you. And they might be your best friend. They might be your enemy. They might be your next lover. They might be the one. You never know. But the craziest part is, though they might be at home right now watching TikTok, their family's probably at home with them too. Or their friends are probably with them too. You know, and it's never ending. And I think you can just make such a big impact by just being nice to somebody and spreading I loves and kindness and heart to everybody around you. And so I think that's why when you connect with road rage, it's just so fast to be upset at somebody and rude to somebody and unkind to somebody, not knowing what particular circumstance they're in. And in that 1 second that you drive by and like stare them down and you're upset at them and you kind of like break their heart for a minute or two, you at the same time in that second also make a negative impact on their day, just how they accidentally made one on you, except yours is more targeted and on purpose. And I think that's not necessary. I think it's necessary to be kind to each other, and I think it's important to be generous and just love who we all are, even though we do make those mistakes, even though we do fuck up every day, even though those mistakes happen. Just forgive people and move on, you know? There's some things that, of course, you can't just move on from. People who just, in a drop of a hat, say something really toxic or really hurtful to you. Of course, you can't just forgive them and move on instantly. You might need an apology, but if you feel like that person did it on accident and they didn't mean it to be in a negative fashion, I think that it would be easier for all of us as a society to just forgive and move on and learn that that person is going to be better than that now. That they are not that same person that you might have thought that they were before, or, and that might change. And you might lose that friend, but you'll meet others. You'll meet somebody else who is so much greater than that person, who won't be so negative and hurtful to you, and will respect you and love you for who you are. And even though you might even make mistakes at the same time that you wouldn't want anybody else to do to you, you also have to remember that you'll be forgiven, and you'll find a way to learn. And that is your way to learn, by realizing that the things you did was wrong and that you don't want to do that again. These are all a part of the human experience, and how we just push along and learn, and frankly just figure out our ways. Some people do deserve apologies, and some people do need apologies. And I think it's important to realize when that situation is needed, and they don't even have to accept your apology. But I think apologizing just shows growth. And the next part of apologizing is moving on and realizing what you did was wrong, and just having to realize that though it was wrong and though you messed up, you are putting your best foot forward, and you're trying your best to remember who you are, and remember to be careful and love yourself and treat yourself with respect, because that just shows that you can also be better than what you were before. And I don't know if that made sense, but you know what? I'm trying here, okay? I'm really trying. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, I'm sorry. Just thinking about things like that, and thinking about how you can change people's lives. It's so special. I love working and being kind to people, because every time I am kind to someone, I can make their days better and brighter. And I can be like a shining light in their world when they might not have one right now. I've had many times in my life where I've never been lower. And just the simplest compliment, or the simplest "you're gorgeous," is more than anything. It's one of the best thoughts, or one of the best compliments I can get, is just a hello, maybe sometimes. Just the best words are sometimes the littlest ones. And I think some people who aren't really able to be social all the time aren't able to do that. And that makes sense, But I think if you're an extroverted person and you're really able to throw yourself out there and have conversations with people, I say you should be able to compliment people for what they dress like, or how they look, or what they wear. I think those are all really important and essential things in their lives that also are a capture of their personality. Every time you go out to the mall and somebody's wearing a certain type of shirt, that person saw that shirt somewhere, whether it's online or in a store or wherever they might have found it. And it either has value to them because it's attached to a special memory they had, or who knows, maybe they even just liked it because they thought they would look good in it. And those are all things that capture their personality. So when you compliment that shirt, or when you compliment that object, it feels like you're complimenting and validating who they are, and what they like, and who they love, and the things that matter to them. And that's such a great feeling. It's the things that make them feel equal, and it's the things that make them feel unique and cool and special. And who doesn't like to feel like that, I'm sure some people don't like to, but I don't know. I like to feel like that. I don't think you could really offend anyone by saying their shirt is nice. Unless you're saying it hey, your shirt is really nice. Really rude like that. Don't do that. Because that comes off really passive aggressive. But, I think my point was kind of understood and proven with that. So, yeah. I am approaching my house, you guys. I just wanted to say thank you guys for listening to the podcast. I believe this is the 4th episode. Maybe it was the 3rd. I kind of am not keeping track of that right now in my head. But I hope you guys have been enjoying this. I am really hoping that what I said today means something to you guys and makes sense to an extent and didn't sound like a bunch of gibberish. Because at the same time, while it was a bunch of gibberish that I thought had meaning, I was also concentrating on driving at the same time. So hopefully, it still made sense at the end of the day. This is, we're getting close to the end of Pride Month. So be prideful of you. Love you. Be creative. Be you unconditionally. take care of yourself. Show yourself compassion and love. And it's easier said than done because I don't always do that for myself. And I need to do it more for myself. But I want you guys to do it too. And if you don't think you can just do it overnight, what you can do overnight is to try. Do one little thing that can make your day feel better. Or one little thing that'll make you feel happy. Whether it's playing another round in that video game. Or it's writing that new chapter that you've been interested in. Or things like that. Just force yourself to do something that'll make you happy. And that right there is enough just to show that if you do it every day, you're treating yourself with more respect than you did before. So, yeah. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.